Hey guys, this is Hemant from Edureka. Today's session is going to be on SAS tutorial. So without wasting any more time, let's move on to the agenda to understand what all will be covered in today's session. So we'll start today's session by first discussing why do we need data analytics. So once we're done with that, we'll see what data analytics actually is, and we'll be discussing the different tools which can be used to perform data analytics. After that, we'll see why SAS is preferred over all the other tools. Then we'll discuss what SAS actually is. After that, we'll be seeing what SAS solves actually in the real world, and then move on to the discussion wherein we'll be seeing what are the different components of SAS, and then moving on to the topic of interest, which is Base SAS. We'll see how we can practice Base SAS on our own. Towards the end, we'll be doing a short demo wherein we'll be getting acquainted with the SAS environment, and then we'll be solving simple queries and hence ending the session. So guys, this is our agenda for today. Are we clear with it? All right, I'm getting confirmation. So Juden is clear. So is Saurabh. Vivek is clear as well. Abhilash is clear as well. Okay guys, since most of you are clear, let's move on to the first topic of today's discussion, that is why data analytics. So why do we need data analytics is the question. So data analytics is used because of these four things. So first of all, if you are a product-based company, you can come up with next generation products, right? So data analytics is all about data. You are studying data, right? So if you have a product which has been successful in the past, but if you see the other companies whose products have been successful, you can actually study them and derive the characteristics which made those products successful, right? Now, based on those characteristics or combining those characteristics with the new features that you're trying to implement in your product, right? You can come up with the next generation product which will be successful, and at the same time it will be more advanced, right? Now these features that you'll be deciding can also be decided based on the data that you are studying, right? So say there was some product which was launched last year, there was some mobile phone, right? And on the basis of the user feedback, you get to know, okay, so in terms of usability, it is better to have the fingerprint sensor on the front rather than the back, right? So you take that feedback, implement in your own product, and come up with a product which is not only usable but has more features, and hence it becomes a next generation product. Having said that, let's move on to the second property, which is cost reduction, right? So you can actually study the way you have been spending on your projects, and right, and then you can actually come up with a plan wherein you can see, okay, I went wrong here by investing more money in this thing, or I spent more money on this thing and I didn't get any results, right? So it's better not to invest money over there. You can do all these kind of analysis and hence reduce costs on your projects, right? Or else you can also study products from different companies or of other companies who have actually released that product at a lesser price. So you can see what made them minimize the costs in their production, right? You can implement that in your own production line and hence reduce costs of your projects. Then you have a better decision-making process. So data analytics basically provides you with facts. It provides you with a path to whatever you are trying to achieve, right? And when you have a path and you have facts presented in front of you, mathematical facts, mathematical proven facts, right? So your decision making actually becomes easier because you obviously want yourself to be succeeding, right? So if you want yourself to be succeeding and you see a way, okay, so this is the way that data analytics, or this is the way that trends have shown me, so let me go this way. So your decision making actually becomes easier, right? And hence data analytics plays a big role here. And towards the end, it actually improves the service or products that your company serves, right? When you are producing the next generation products, you're offering your product at a lower price, and you're also doing the right thing by following a particular path which the trends have shown. It obviously improves your service or product because it is more efficient now. It is more relatable to your customer because you have studied the customer feedback, right? So it is more relatable to your customer, and your customer is more happy with your product. So it greatly improves your service and products. Having said that, this is why data analytics is actually important, right? So we have discussed why do we need data analytics, and let's now move on to the part where we'll discuss what data analytics actually is. So data analytics refers to the qualitative and quantitative techniques. So qualitative basically means that you're obviously increasing the quality of your product using trends, using techniques. And quantitative means you're employing formulas, you're employing statistic facts to come up with figures which actually gives an insight on your product, right? So you employ these quantitative and qualitative techniques or processes, and which are then used to enhance the productivity and the business gain, right? So obviously if you improve the quality of your product, and in terms of quantity, if you say you increase the bandwidth of your product, say you were making 300 products previously, and you're now with improved efficiency you can now make 600 products, right? So you are obviously increasing or enhancing the productivity, and obviously since your productivity has increased, your business gain increase as well, right? Now data analytics is not magic, guys. It's purely science. It's based on science, and it is based on data. The most important ingredient in analytics is data, right? So now where is that data coming from? So that data is actually extracted from your feedback, from social media, right? So you can extract data from them and then categorize it, and hence analyze it on behavioral aspects. You can actually see, or you can apply sentiment analysis on it and see how is the feedback coming from customers on your particular product. And you can actually categorize the negative feedbacks and see what are those users saying, what did they find wrong in the product, or what more do they want in the product, and hence implement that in your next release. Okay, so this is what data analytics is, guys. So now how, like I said, so data analytics is not magic, right? So let me give you an example for that. So if you imagine data, because data is random, all right? So data has no structure. So data, when you provide structure to the data, that is what analytics is. So this is your data. It is all unstructured, but with the help of some tools, you come up with a structured kind of an array, and this is what analytics is. Now your job is to analyze or to read the facts that analytics provides you, and then come up with decisions, right? Then you come up with decisions, and then it becomes all sorted. So this is a large data. So maybe this is something that you have taken from social media, you have taken from different sources, and all of that you have dumped in one particular place, and now you want to analyze it, right? So you would employ an analytics tool. That analytics tool will actually try to read this data and make sense out of it. And this is what it does. It makes sense out of it, it categorizes it, and then it's your job to actually analyze it. So using different techniques. So once you analyze it based on the results, you come up with decisions, right? And this is what the decisions look like. This is the sorted form of your data, right? So this is how data analytics is actually used to solve or to come up with predictions or to come up with paths that will lead you to success. Having said that, I was talking about tools that can be used to perform data analytics. So let's move on and understand what are the different tools which can be used. So data analytic tools are of two kinds. One is the paid kind, wherein you have to pay for the software or the tool that you're trying to use, and one is open source. So you have in paid tools, you have Excel, you have Splunk, you have ClickView, you have Tableau, and you have SAS. In the open source part, you have R, you have PigHive, you have SparkR, you have Python, and other tools as well. Now, today we are going to discuss SAS, right? So why have we chosen SAS out of all these different tools? What is so special in SAS? Let's discuss that. So why SAS? Now, we are using SAS because of these reasons. So it is easy to learn, and because of data handling capacities, graphical capabilities, updating of tool, and job scenarios. So let's look at each of these one by one. So let's talk about ease of learning first. So SAS is very easy to learn, guys. It basically follows procedural SQL language, and people who have an experience in SQL will actually be able to relate to this language more, right? And if we compare it to R, which is an open source language, it has a very steep learning curve, as in it is very difficult to learn R because of the language which is there, because it is completely new. It is not related to any technology that you're using right now. It is not relatable, right? And that is why it becomes a little difficult to learn R than it is difficult to learn SAS. So SAS is comparatively more easier than learning R, and that is the reason people are more inclined towards SAS when they enter into the data analytics field. Since you guys are beginners, right? So if you are beginners, people like you would prefer SAS more than R because SAS is more easy to learn, and hence it will be more easier to get into this career by learning SAS. Having said that, so ease of learning is the first reason. The next reason is data handling capabilities, right? So when we talk about data handling capabilities, SAS is in par with R and Python when it comes to handling huge amount of data, right? So it performs at par with R and Python. So it's not like in open source you have a tool which is better than SAS, right? So SAS is in par with R and Python, which are open source, in terms of handling the size of data that we want, right? So if there's a huge set of data, so SAS can handle that efficiently. Moving on, let's talk about the graphical capabilities. So using SAS, you can come up with various graphs, various types of visualization tools or graphs so that you can study your data more quickly, because it gives you more insights when you're going with the visualization way than actually studying the data, right? So with a little bit of learning, it is possible. So by learning only a few commands, you can actually come up with good graphs, which gives you good insights into your data, right? So the graphical capabilities is also a reason. Then comes updating of tools. Now, when we talk about open source, guys, so open source, you have to rely on the community to come up with the next version, right? But with SAS, it is not like that. So whenever they feel that there's a new feature coming up, right? So since SAS is a paid tool, it's a proper company, right? So their updations are very systematic, right? So they come up with new features now and then. They come up with new ways of implementing techniques, and when they say new ways, they are actually making it more easier with every release of theirs. When you talk about R is not that frequent, or when you talk about other open source tools, they, in terms of using, or in terms of their updations, I'll not say they're not updated at all. They are, but they are updated at a very low pace, right? And we, since we are working in businesses, we want the best of the best, right? And if you have a tool which is upgraded according to the latest technologies which are out there, it becomes more easier for us to implement that technology, right? Having said that, so updation of tools is also a reason. And then comes job scenario. So if you talk about our country, India, so the companies which are using SAS are 70%. So 70% of the data analytics population is using SAS, as compared to the 15% population which are still stuck on R, right? So if you're learning SAS, you have a better opportunity to be employed in the data analytics industry than if you're learning R, because R has a comparatively lesser community, or there are lesser businesses which are actually implementing R for data analytics in today's world, right? So these were the reasons, and these are the reasons that people are actually preferring SAS over any other language, because first, it is very easy to learn. Then the data handling capabilities are at par with the other languages. The graphical capabilities are also there, and they are very easy to learn again. And then the updates are pretty frequent, and the job scenario is cool as well. So if you're learning SAS, you increase your probability of being employed as a data analyst, right? So this is why SAS is preferred. Moving on, now we know why we picked up SAS, or what is the reason behind you guys learning SAS, right? Now let's discuss what SAS actually is, right? So SAS is a software suite, right? So it's a suite which contains different kind of tools. It has a lot of components, right, which deals with different kind of things. And it is used to do advanced analytics, multivariate analysis, business intelligence, data management, and predictive analytics. We'll discuss each of these in the next slide. So let's check it off as of now. Then it was developed by the SAS Institute way early, I think in the 1980s or the 70s. And since then it's been using. And one more reason that people tend to stick on to SAS and not go somewhere else is because SAS came way earlier, guys, right? And now when the systems or when the companies have already implemented their systems in SAS, moving on to some other language becomes very expensive because they have to actually shift, or they have to migrate from their legacy systems to the new systems, right? So the underlying architecture, the coding, everything will change. So when I say the underlying architecture, I basically mean when you're migrating your data onto a new system, you have to architect it again the way, because your data is now acquainted with this architecture of SAS, right? So you have to remodel everything and come up with a new infrastructure. And also your employees, they are trained with the way that things happen in SAS. So you have to again train your employees for the new technology that you are implementing, right? And hence the costs go up. And that is the reason people tend to stick on to SAS rather than moving ahead. Okay, so let's move on. So it was developed by the SAS Institute way early, and then it provides a graphical point-and-click user interface. The graphs or the visualization tools which are there in SAS are easily accessible, right? So you don't have to dig deep, you don't have to do a lot of research on the commands which are there. It is very easy to access. And with a point-and-click user interface, even for non-technical users, it becomes very easy to use, right? So if I am, say I'm from a technical background, so if you guys, any of you from a non-technical background, SAS will make sense for you as well, right? So it will not be difficult for you to actually use SAS because of the interface or because of the UI or because of its user friendliness, right? So this was about SAS, guys. So like I said, it is a software suite for a different kind of things. Let's discuss these things. So these are the things which SAS actually solves, right? So let's see. So SAS is used to do advanced analytics. It is used to do multivariate analysis. It is used for business intelligence. It is used for data management, and it is used for predictive analysis. Now let's discuss each of these one by one. So first, what is advanced analytics, right? So it is a broad category of inquiry that can be used to help drive changes and improvements in business practices, right? So like I said, it is just like data analytics. So it is just an advanced form of data analytics wherein you use more sophisticated techniques and you come up with the insights which can help change and improve your business practices, right? So this is what advanced analytics is all about. Then we have the multivariate analysis. So when you're doing analysis, you actually depend on some variables, right? So some factors which actually are causing a change in your model. So when you have a lot of factors involved, like if you have, say, like when I talk about the capacity, the engine capacity of a car, it is based on a lot of things. It's based on the weight of the car, it is based on the dimensions of the car, it is also based on the terrain that it is meant for. So when you look at all these things, you come up and say, okay, so this is the engine capacity that this car should have, right? So you're taking into a lot of things, you're taking into a lot of variables. Similar is the case with SAS as well. So SAS actually is used where you have a lot of variables. So I just took 3 variables. That could be around 15 or 20 or 35 or 40 variables, right? So when you have these many variables and you're trying to make a decision based on all these variables, it actually becomes a cumbersome task. But when you have SAS, you don't have to worry about anything because it is efficient in these kind of analysis. Moving on, then you have the business intelligence topic. So what is business intelligence? So it refers to technologies, application, and practices for the collection, integration, analysis, and presentation of business information, right? So it actually refers to the techniques, it refers to the practices that can be used to improve your business, that can be used to help your business to improve, right? So whenever you have something going on in your business and you want to understand how my business is doing, so that involves some techniques, right? So business intelligence basically means that you are actually referring to technologies, you're actually referring to applications, you're actually referring to the practices which leads to collection, integration, analysis, and the presentation of the business information that you want to understand, right? So using tools you do this, and SAS is an all-in-one for this. So using SAS, you can actually understand, you can actually look into your business information. If you made breakthrough in sales, right, in the past month, and you want to understand what actually made this breakthrough or what actually made this last month so successful, you can actually lead on to, or you can actually incline on your business intelligence tools, which will give you insights onto what is actually happening in your business. Okay, moving on, you have data management. So data management basically means how well you can manage your data. So with the help of architecture, with the help of policies, practices, and procedures, you'll be actually managing your data efficiently. Now with SAS, you have all these things in place. You have proper procedures, you have proper architectures, you have proper practices which are coded in SAS, using which you can manage your data more efficiently than some other tool, right? And then you have predictive analysis as well. So predictive analysis is basically a part of advanced analytics wherein you actually foresee what will happen if these are the inputs that I give, right? So predictive analysis is basically used for unknown events. So if you want to know, if I follow this path, what will be the outcome, right? And this actually helps you in better decision making, right? If you don't know what will happen. So what happens in predictive analysis is you rely on the past data. So based on the past data, you come up with a model, right? So you feed in values that you, or you feed in decisions that you took in the past, and they lead to conclusions, right? So based on these decisions and the conclusions, you come up with a model. And on this model, you feed in the new data or the new decisions that you want to make. Before actually making them, you actually feed them in the model. And this model then predicts a conclusion, what will happen, right, based on the past trends. So this kind of analysis is called predictive analysis, and SAS can do that for you as well, right? So these are the things that SAS can actually handle. Moving on, let's understand the different components of SAS. So SAS can do a lot of things, right? But then all these things cannot be integrated into one component. So that is why SAS is actually having a lot of components which deals with different kind of things. Now, there are close to 200 components that SAS has, right? So one of these is Base SAS. So Base SAS is a topic that we are going to learn in the upcoming sessions that we are going to cover. So don't worry by seeing all these components, guys. Don't worry. You will not be learning all the 200 components. We'll be learning about Base SAS in our sessions, in our upcoming sessions. All right. So Base SAS contains basic procedures and is used for data management and other things, right? So we'll be learning about Base SAS in the upcoming sessions. Moving on, now you would wonder how will you actually practice Base SAS? So I said SAS is a paid tool, right? So you'd be wondering, okay, should I purchase SAS to actually practice on it? So for that, the SAS community or the SAS company has actually been very helpful. They have provided us with a free tool which is called SAS University. So SAS University is basically a SAS suite offered you for free. So SAS University is basically used for the learning purposes, right? So if you want to learn SAS, you can learn it for free using the SAS University tool. But this tool cannot be used for commercial purposes. And that is the reason that all of the learning that we are going to do, or all of the learning that I'm going to show you guys is using WPS. All right, so WPS means the World Programming System. So in WPS, you can implement Base SAS or the SAS programming language also, right? So whatever commands that I'll be showing you guys, you can implement in SAS University, and I'll be implementing it in WPS. Why? Because I have the WPS license, I can use it. For you, you can actually download SAS University, and whatever codes or whatever demos that we'll be doing in our sessions that we'll be going further with, you can practice it in your SAS University. Right, so these are the two tools which can be used to practice Base SAS. Now let me show you guys how you can actually install both these tools. So let's talk about SAS University first. So for SAS University, you have to go to this link, right? And on this link, you'll be seeing this page. This is actually the SAS University Edition software page, and you'll be clicking on Get Free Software. All right, so you'll be clicking here, and once you click here, you will actually see the screen then. You'll be prompted with the screen, and then you have an option to actually choose between using your own computer for SAS or using the cloud for it, right? So what happens in the cloud version is your file will actually be downloaded to your cloud, your AWS cloud, and it will be installed on a server on AWS, right? So when it's installed on a server on AWS, you will basically get the IP address for that server and you will be able to access SAS from your browser, right? This is one way. The other way is that you can download SAS to your own machine, right? You will have to download VirtualBox. You will be installing SAS University onto that, and then SAS University will give you a link. You have to copy paste that link in your browser and it will open the SAS user interface for you, and that is where you'll be learning SAS, right? So you have these two options. You can actually directly download it or you can actually run it in the cloud, all right? So if you guys don't want to spend money on the cloud, you can actually download it on your own system. It's around a 2 GB file. So once you do that, you'll be prompted with this screen, right? So you'll have to create a SAS profile before this. So do all the registration and then you'll be prompted with this screen. So you'll be clicking on get download. Once you download, like I said, you'll have to install VirtualBox. Once that VirtualBox is installed, you have to open VirtualBox and go click on file and click on import appliance, right? So once you do that, whatever file that you have downloaded from the SAS website, right, you'll be presented with a window wherein you have to browse to that file, right? So browse to that particular file, click on OK, and then you'll be prompted with this setup visit, right? So just go along with the normal way you install things and then SAS will actually get launched. Now when SAS launches, as you can see, there is this link that SAS is providing you with, right? So you'll have to enter this link in your browser, right? So once you enter that link in your browser, this is the screen that you'll be seeing, right? So this screen is actually the SAS Studio screen. So then you can click on SAS Studio, start SAS Studio, and you'll actually be up and running, right? So this is the way you can install SAS University and use it. Let me quickly show you. So I've downloaded the file and I have configured it in my VirtualBox. Let me show you how it actually looks or how the SAS user interface actually is, right? So wait a second, hang on. Alright, so this is my VirtualBox, guys. So now this is the University edition. I click on start and then it will start initializing. So you have to wait for like 1 or 2 minutes. It takes a while for it to initialize, and once it initializes it will give me that screen. So let us wait for SAS to initialize. Alright guys, so SAS has successfully been initialized, right? So you can see the screen. It has provided you with address. So let's go to this address and see how the SAS actually looks like. So I'll go to localhost colon 10080, click on enter. Alright, so this, you get presented with this screen, guys, as you can see. Right, so now you'll be clicking on start SAS Studio. It will sign you in and let it sign in. It is initializing now. Alright guys, so this is it, right? So this is the SAS Studio. You have three things over here. You have the code, you have the log, and then you have the results, right? So in the code part, you actually give your code. In the log part, you get any errors that you'll be getting, and in the results part, you'll actually be getting the graphs or the tables that you have actually coded the application for, right? So this is how your SAS University looks like. On the left side, you can see that you will have some files and folders. Wherever you are trying to store your data sets, wherever you're trying to store your code, all will be listed over here. Alright, so guys, this is how your SAS Studio will actually look like. There's nothing much to it. You have code wherein you'll be coding it, the log, and the results. Now, whenever you'll be trying to implement or whenever you're trying to execute your code, what you'll be doing is you will be selecting that part of the code and clicking here, which is run, right? So you click on run, and then it will run that particular set for you. So don't worry, all of this is exactly the same in WPS as well. There's no difference. It's just over there you'll have a different icon for running. So there is nothing that you won't be understanding over there. Alright, so this is how the SAS Studio actually looks like, guys. So I'm closing it now. Let's continue with our session. Alright, so this is how you can actually install SAS University. Moving on, guys, I am using WPS, so I don't think you guys should have the need to use WPS, but if you do, this is how you install it. You go to this link and you will see the screen, right? And then once you click on install, you will be prompted with the screen. You'll have to register an account, and then you have to request for that particular software. The software name is WPS Express. It is free, right? So you can install this free software and then move on to the license. So it will give you a license, and then once the license is actually, it will take around 5 minutes for it to be approved. Somewhere it will say it will take around 1 day. It might take, but for me it took 5 minutes. So you can wait for like 5 minutes and your license will be approved, and then you can click here, that is download software for this license, right? So once you click here, the installation will actually begin, and you will be prompted with this screen next. And then according to your architecture, if it's a 32-bit, you will be going with x86, and if it's a 64-bit, you will actually be going for 64-bit, right? So you can install your version here, and once it does, you are done, you are set, right? So let me show you the WPS interface as well. So this is how your WPS interface actually looks like. Now guys, the catch with WPS Express, why it is free, is because WPS Express is actually available for all. There's no license such as it can only be used for learning purposes or something like that. But with WPS Express, this is the thing, that you cannot execute data sets which have more than 100 records, right? It has a limitation that it can only execute records until 100, right? After 100, it doesn't execute it. And that is the reason we have actually purchased WPS and we have implemented it on AWS, right? So with WPS Express, we are actually connecting to our AWS server, which is called Edureka. As you can see, the default server is Edu server and the standard license is green. So we have a license for WPS, and that is how we are going to execute the SAS programs. Right, so the thing with server is that when we're using the server, we actually get out of that limitation of that 100 records. So because the code will be sent from here, the code will be executing over there, and the results will be sent back to us. All right. So with this, you can actually execute data sets which have more than 100 records. Having said that, you will also have the information for the Edureka server in your LMS. So in case you want to try your hand at WPS, you can actually do that. But I think you should stick on to SAS University, because ultimately you'll be working on SAS, right? So ultimately your goal is to learn SAS. Now SAS can be learned in WPS as well, but why not learn it in the original software only? Because I think when you'll be going into your companies, when you'll be going into your corporate jobs, you'll be using this licensed version of SAS. But for learning, we can use WPS or SAS University. But once you enter the commercial business, you actually have to use a licensed product. All right. So having said that, let's move ahead. Now let's understand the code structure of SAS. So we have now learned how we can install the SAS software, or the relevant software, that is WPS or SAS University. Now let's start with the coding, guys. Let's see how SAS is actually programmed, or how is it structured, right? So basically the SAS code has two kind of blocks. One is called the data block, and the other is called the procedure block or the proc block, right? So the data block is basically for defining the data set, for performing operations on the data set, and procedure is actually like a function. So it executes, it deals with the execution part of a data set. It deals with the statistics or whatever operations that you want to implement that can be included in the procedure part. So whatever output that you are seeing, that output is actually coming from the procedure part of your program. right? So having said that, let's move ahead and see a sample code, right? So this is a sample code, guys. What this code is actually doing is, so it is defining a data set called trail, right? And this data set will have 3 columns, which is PID, it'll have name, and it'll have age, right? So now PID is nothing but a number value, right? Name is a string, and whenever you have a string, guys, you have to attach a dollar after it, right? So if you attach a dollar after it, SAS will understand, okay, this is a string. And then you have age, which is again a numeric value, right? So once you have given the input line in the data block, next is you have to give data lines. So you'll be entering this statement which says data lines, semicolon, and semicolon is very important, guys, after each and every command that you give in SAS, right? So data trail, you see the semicolon, input, PID, name, age, you see the semicolon, and then you enter data lines. So data lines means after this command you'll be entering whatever records that you want to add to your database, right? So you enter data lines semicolon, and after that I've entered 3 records. So the first record is PID, which is 100. Then you have the string, which is my name, and then the age, which is could be anything. I'm not saying I'm 21, but then yeah. So you can enter your age, hit enter, enter the second line. So PID is now 200. The name is Ayushi, age is whatever you feel like, and then you have PID again for the third record. Then you have 300, you have the name and the age, right? Now after each and every entry that you want to make, you have to hit enter. Remember, guys, there's no semicolon after this, it's a enter, right? You hit enter, you come to the second record, enter the second record, hit enter again, enter the third record, and so on, right? Once you are done with entering records in your data set, you can actually put an end to it by putting a semicolon. So the semicolon marks that you're no more entering any more records. And then after each block, that is the data block and the procedure block, you have to enter the run as well. So run basically tells SAS, okay, so run this particular block now, right? So run is very important, and after it, semicolon will again come, right? So run tells SAS to run the code, and then this is the data block, which basically includes all the operations related to your data set. And then you have the procedure block or the proc block, which will contain the output section of your code, right? So in this, we are basically printing the data set which we just created, which is called trail, right? So we said proc and then the print command, and then we say, okay, the data set is trail, right? Now the title result means the title of that result, whatever we'll be getting in the result window, should be result, right? So when we say title result, instead of the normal default header which is there, which is the WPS system, you will get result as the title, right? After that, obviously, like I said, you have to put run, which basically tells SAS to run this particular block, which is the proc block, right? So this is basically the structure that is there in SAS. Pretty simple, right? There's nothing related to programming in this. This is very fresh, this is very simple, this is very new for you. So if you follow these guidelines, so basically you have, like I said, there are just 2 blocks. So there is nothing much to remember as well, all right? Moving on, guys, let's move on to the next slide, which talks a little in detail about the data block. So the data block actually can be used to compute data sets, right? It can be used to check for errors in the data set. It can be used to subset a data set. If you want to make smaller data set out of a parent data set, you can do that in the data block. It is used to superset a data set. If you want to combine 2 or 3 data sets to make a bigger data set, that can be used to do that. It can be used to merge data sets, can be used to update data sets, right? So all of these operations can be done in the data block. So as you would have noticed, all these operations are actually related to your data set, and hence they are executed in the data block, right? So if nothing in this operation, none of these operations are actually related to the results pane in your SAS Studio, right? So you will see nothing if you execute a data block in your result pane, right? It is only the procedure block which will lead to results in your results pane. Alright, so this was about the data block, guys. Next we have the procedure block. So procedure block is basically used to summarize the results that you're getting. It is used to sort the results that you're getting from the techniques that you're implementing, list the results. It can be also used to produce descriptive statistics, as in tables which will contain probability values and stuff like that. And also it can be used to generate reports and graphs, right? So if you want to visualize something, that also has to be done in the procedure block. All right. Having said that, guys, so this was the structure of your SAS code. So we now know how to actually install the SAS software. We now know the code structure of SAS. So what are we waiting for? Let's jump on to the demo part. Let's implement a demo in SAS now. Right, so the demo is going to be like this. So first I'm going to show you a couple of basic statements in SAS, so basic commands that you can run in SAS, basic things that you should know as a beginner, what can be done. Right, then I'll tell you guys how you can create a data set in SAS. We'll be creating a data set, and then we'll be listing that data set in different ways. And also we'll see if we have created a data set, how we can actually save it. Right, so there are basically two kinds of data sets in SAS. Right, so if you would come back to the screen, guys, you can see that we created a data set called trail. Right, now this data set is actually there until you are running that SAS session. The moment you end that SAS session, this data set will actually go away. It will not be there anymore, right? So if you have to save your data set, you can do that using a library command that I'll be showing you in the demo, right? So using that command, this data set actually becomes a physical file and gets stored in your file system, right? So this kind of data set is called a permanent data set. After this, you have the temporary data sets, which are there till the session is running in your SAS. For example, this trail data set, as of now, ever since we have not executed the library statement, this data set is actually called temporary, because the moment I'll end my SAS session, this trail data set will also get evaporated. It will not be there in the system anymore. All right. So this is what we'll be learning in the demo part, that is how to create permanent data sets. We'll also be creating a data set, and then we'll see how we can actually update that data set, right? So when you create a data set, you're actually creating a SAS table. Now we'll see how we can actually apply operations in tables. So if the fourth or fifth variable is actually dependent on one of the variables in the table, we'll see how we can update or how we can create a new data set using the older data sets and adding a new column in it which is actually dependent on the older variables, right? Sounds a little more complex, but don't worry, guys, we'll be going step by step and everything will be clear to you in the next few minutes that we'll be doing the demo for. All right, so let's go to the WPS system. Alright, guys, so this is my WPS system. So as of now, let me create a new program. We'll click on untitled program. Alright, so first of all, like I said, you have to enter the two blocks. So we have the data block. So let's create a data block first. We are creating a data set called trail, and then we want three columns in it. Say we want input, we'll enter input, and then let's say we are entering values such as the employee number, the name of the employee, and then the salary of the employee. All right. Now, like I said, the name is string, so you have to attach a dollar after it. And with every statement ending, you have to add a semicolon. All right. So we're done with the semicolon. Let's go ahead. Now we have created a data set called trail. We have specified that these are the three columns that will be there. Now let's enter the values. So for entering the values, you actually have to write the data line statement, add a semicolon after that, and then you'll notice that whatever values that you'll be entering now will come in yellow. That means that you're actually entering the records that you want to be there in your data set, right? So first the employee number, so let's give it 1, right? And whenever you have to move on to the second column, you just give a space, and that is it, right? So now the second column is name, so let me enter my name, which is Hemant. Give one more space. Now it talks about the salary. So let me enter my salary, which is okay. Let me enter a pseudo salary, which is 10,000 bucks. All right. The next line will be the employee number, right? So let me enter one more record. Employee number is 2. Name is say Saurabh, right? And the salary is 15,000. Okay, so next employee is say Bibek, and the salary is 20,000, right? So okay, 3 records we have entered. Now to mark the end of the entering of your records, you will say semicolon and hit enter. So done. You won't have no yellow lines now, and then you're done with the data set. You will type run and a semicolon. So this is how your data set will be created. In the next line, let's print this data set. So we'll be entering the proc statement. All right, so proc. So this is basically means that this is the proc block, and then the function that we want to implement. So we want the print function to be implemented, and then I want the data set to be trail, right? So I'll enter the data set as trail followed by a semicolon. Enter. After that, nothing else is needed. I can give a title, right? So the title could be, say, my first result, right? And semicolon followed by run. Cool. Alright guys, so this is our code. Let's run it now. Let's select it and click on run. Right, so it is running my code on Edureka server, and as you can see it has given me a result. Alright, so as you can see it has printed the results that I have entered. Let me quickly show you. So SAS 1, I've entered Hemant, Saurabh and Bibek and the salaries and the employee number, and as you can see the title is my first result, and the entries are Hemant, Saurabh and Bibek along with their salaries, right? So congratulations on your first program, guys. So you have successfully started coding in SAS. All right, give me a moment. Let's move on to the second part of now. So we have implemented the code for printing a data set, right? Now, like I said, if you want to actually save a data set on your machine, the way you will do that is like this, right? So you will write libname, which is lib name, right? And then you'll be specifying the library name. So let the library name be demo, all right? And then you have to specify the path. So the path is actually of my Edureka server, so I have to specify the Ubuntu path. So let me do that. So it is home/Ubuntu and followed by a semicolon, right? After that, in the data statement, you actually have to specify demo.trail. So this is where my data set will be saved, right? And let's give it trail4 because I already have a file called trail in my system. Alright guys, so now what will happen is first it will set the paths of demo as this, right? And then I specify that the data should be saved in trail4. Alright, so this result that I got is from a temporary data set, but I'm trying to make that data set permanent. Alright, so let me do that. I'll show you the home directory as of now for my server. Right, so there is no file called trail4 over here, right? So there's nothing called trail4. So now let me run the data part. So I click on data, click on OK. Alright, so as you can see the command executed successfully. So I wanted something called trail4, right? So let's check if there's a folder file here called trail4. It is not there yet. Let me refresh it, right? So the moment I refresh it, I'll see a file called trail4 over here. So as you can see, there's a file called trail4 here now, right? So my data set was this, right? So it should have Hemant, Saurabh and Vivek. Let me check what this data set has. Alright, so this is what my data set has. Hemant, Saurabh and Vivek, 10,000, 15,000 and 20,000. And this is it, guys. So now your data set is actually permanent. Now, Let us create one more data set, right? Let us create a temporary data set called trail 5, right? And then we want it to be a copy of trail 4, right? So we'll say set trail 4, so which is in demo, right? So we'll specify demo.trail4 and followed by a semicolon, right? So now what will happen is it will create a data set called trail 5, which will be an exact copy of trail 4. For that, we'll be using the command called set in the data block, right? So let me run this statement. All right, so my statement executed. Let me print it now. So data equal to trail 5, my first result from copied data set. Let's try to print this. So I have entered the data to be trail 5, right? And the title is my first result from copied data set. Let's try to run this statement. All right, I've got a result. So let's see what a result says. So as you can see, my first result from copied data set, and then you have these 3 records which have been successfully been copied from the permanent data set. All right, guys. So now what I want to do is I have copied the data set. Now I want to add one more field to it. Let me add one more field to it, which is say MUL, right? Now what is MUL? MUL is nothing but the salary multiplied by 2. All right, so basically this column will contain the salary which is multiplied by 2, and I am saving it in trail 5, which is my new data set, right? And I am taking my previous data set, that is trail 4. So basically what I'm trying to do here is I'm taking a data set which already exists, and I'm adding one more column to it, which will be actually dependent on the salary column from trail 4. And what I'm doing with that is the dependency is that I'm multiplying it by 2. All right, so let's sort of run this whole code. Click on OK. And we are set. Let's check the print command, what it has to show us. So as you can see, we have copied the data values from trail 4 to trail 5 and added one more column, which is MUL, which is nothing but the multiple of salary by 2. So 10,000 becomes 20,000, 15,000 becomes 30,000, and 20,000 becomes 40,000. All right, so we have done this as well, guys. So let's now end this session, but before that let me actually show you one more procedure statement then you can do, which I think should not be very complex. So let it be procedure, and then I'll say gchart. So gchart is basically used for creating graphs, right? And I want data set to be trail 5. Title, okay, let me give it title as my first chart, right? And the next command that I want you guys to see is vbar, right? So I want that to be on the salary on the column MUL, right? And then I'll be closing it off by saying run. All right, so let us try to run this command and see what is the result. Okay, so I've got the result here. Alright, so as you can see, I have implemented the salary on, I've actually created this. So this graph doesn't mean anything, guys, but this is how you can create this chart, right? So basically what I'm trying to show you is how to create a chart, right? So if you have a frequency table, or if you create a data set and you want to have a chart for the frequency for every record that you have in that data set. So can you do that using this particular command, which is, so you'll write proc, that is procedure, then the gchart, which is basically the command for global charts, and then you'll be specifying a data set, which is trail 5, and then the title, which will say my first chart. So as you can see here, it says my first chart, right? And then you'll be specifying the column it should be applied on. So you want the vertical bar to be on the MUL column in the data set, and then you're basically running that command. All right, guys, so this is what SAS is in a gist. So the idea that I want you guys to take from this demo is SAS is all not that difficult to write. SAS is very simple. It is very easy to understand, right? And whatever you have learned today, data block and the procedure block, this is it, guys. There's nothing more to it. You'll be just typing in more commands and you'll be implementing different procedures. You can apply different algorithms in your procedure block, which is logistic algorithm or sentiment analysis. You can do anything in SAS, right? But whatever you will be doing, whatever functions that you'll be applying in the procedure block. And you'll see in the upcoming sessions, this is the structure that we'll be following. I've shown you some of the commands, some of the basic commands which are there in SAS, right? And based on that, also I have prepared some assignments. So I want you guys to go through those assignments. And absolutely, guys, SAS is very important. You cannot learn SAS without hands-on, right? Just hands-on is actually very important, and that's the reason I showed you guys how we can actually install that software so that you can do it in this first session only, right? So install the software and try to do all the things that we did today, right? In the next session, it might become a little more complex for you. So I want you guys to be eased out. I want you to know how to create a data set. I want you to know how to print a statement. All of this should be practiced by you in the next session. All right, and also like I said, I've given some assignments. I want those assignments to be submitted in your LMS. The code that we have used today is also available or will be available in your LMS once this session ends. If you have any doubts, you can go through the recording again. It will be there in like 3-4 hours in your LMS again. If you have any doubts, if you have any queries regarding installation or whatever we have discussed, you can always contact our support team, which is 24/7 available for you, right? And if the support team can't handle your request or is not able to solve your query, I am also there, so you can email me and I'll reply to you whenever I have time or in the next session, right? So thank you guys for attending today's session. I hope you learned something new today. Like I said, please practice before coming to the next session, and please upload your assignments as well. All right. So on that note, have a good day ahead. Goodbye.
I hope you enjoyed listening to this video. Please be kind enough to like it, and you can comment any of your doubts and queries, and we will reply to them at the earliest. Do look out for more videos in our playlist and subscribe to our Edureka channel to learn more. Happy learning!